Hello, this is Jordan, and this video is being recorded on the late evening of Monday, August 29th, 2016. And in this video, we're going to discuss reasons to sell and also how to sell. And we're discussing positions within a diversified portfolio as applied to mining stocks and specifically junior mining stocks. Now, starting off, one of my rules is to automatically sell if the position becomes a 20% loss. Now, one reason for that is if a position is 5% of a portfolio, then a 20% loss gives you a limit of a 1% loss on that position or trade to the entire portfolio. Now, obviously, this works best in a bear market, and in a bull market, that over time is going to bail you out. But nevertheless, you still don't want to take a risk in letting a loss grow into a much bigger loss. I mean, if you look at what all the best investors and traders say, it's always about preserving capital and cutting losses. So it may be a different percentage figure for what you're doing. It may be even smaller, it may be a little bit bigger, but consider that because I mean, you sell something, you can always come back to it at another time. But that's what really kills you over time. It's not making huge gains. It's really the losers that hurt you over time. And in the same vein, looking at I don't want to get too far off topic, but when you're trying to decide, should I buy this now? Should I wait for a correction? I mean, one thing I look at is, I mean, I would say don't buy if it has a chance for an immediate 20% loss. So if you're looking at something that has had a very strong, sharp move, like a short-term parabolic moves, that kind of a spike, then that would be susceptible to a 20% loss. Then you don't want to buy at that point. You want to wait for it to correct. Now, my next thing is not an issue right now because miners are so far above their long-term moving averages. But when the 400-day moving average or the 80-week moving average, or in monthly terms, the 20-month moving average, when these start to come into play, you want to sell if the stock breaks below that moving average. That's definitely a sell signal, in my opinion. But as I said, this is not really an issue right now because we've had a huge recovery and the miners are so far above these moving averages. But at some point down the road, this will be an important issue. And my next thing here also, I mean, this doesn't just apply to technicals, but also fundamentals. If the fundamentals of what you own change negatively, then absolutely you should sell. I mean, it's kind of it's not black and white. You have to know how to evaluate your positions. If something becomes really overvalued, that's a fundamental change. And I mean, if there is, what you want to avoid is if something changes and it's clearly bad news or negative, you don't want to sit there and hope for the best. You really want to, at the least, reduce the position or sell it outright because hope is not a strategy, as many smart people have said long before me. Now, another reason you should sell is if you find a better opportunity. I mean, just think about what you own, and periodically you want to reevaluate your positions as far as what you own. And when you're doing that evaluating, you can probably find, I mean, you can probably cut out a few things from your portfolio and at the same time look for better opportunities that you don't currently own. So, um, and this also applies more so if you're heavily invested. I mean, if you don't have the cash to buy something and you have to sell something, I mean, you want to sell something if there's a better opportunity that you don't own. Now, next, and this could be helpful in the current situation because we've had such a huge move, but sell to rebalance something that has become a very large position as a percentage of your portfolio. And I mean, I've made a mistake on this, just in my own personal trading and investing. And in a diversified portfolio, and if something's doing really well and you don't know when to sell, um, you definitely want to take some off the table if you're trying to keep a diversified portfolio and one position has performed so well that it's become so huge. Then you have to cut that back to a normal weighting. So, um, again, if a position becomes way too large, one way to reduce that risk is you sell part of it, and that rebalances the position to more appropriate weighting. Now, that allows me to transition into this next slide, which is how to sell. And simply put, um, because no one can ever sell at the exact top, I mean, what professionals do is, I mean, they sell in fractions. I mean, sometimes they scale into things, but they scale out of things. So periodically, periodically, it makes sense to sell parts of the positions. I don't know if it's 25% or 33% works for you, or maybe even 50%. I mean, it just depends on the person and personal factors like goals, risk tolerance, all those things, etc. But I mean, this is going to be more effective over time. You're not going to make emotional decisions. And again, going back to the last slide, where I mentioned that if a position becomes too large, then you can sell a little bit of that position and rebalance your portfolio, and that way you've reduced the risk on the position, but at the same time, I mean, you still own it. You've taken some profits, so you're not going to be hurt if it corrects a lot more than expected, and you're still going to participate if that stock keeps running much higher than you expect. So, um, again, consider selling in fractions, scaling out of your positions periodically. That's all for today in this short video. I hope you found some of this information or all of this information helpful and informative. You can find out more about the work I do at thedailygold.com. You can get a free copy of my book at thedailygold.com/book. I will be updating that in the next couple weeks. And again, if you opt in at thedailygold.com or thedailygold.com/book, you can get my free weekly newsletter. Thank you everyone for joining me and listening and watching this video. And I look forward to doing another update for you in the next week or two. Thanks.